Matthews. This is Inside News. It's your show. It's your show here that we're putting on. I'm Dale Matthews. Here's Mike Jones. Hello, Mike Jones.
I meant to put my hand up like this, and then I was going to put my thumb up when I saw the live thing, but you took it as a cue. So we were a little bit early, but you repeated yourself, so we're just fine anyway.
I did, and I hardly ever do that, so that's a treat. For
right,
everybody.
You never, ever do that, yes.
So don't think that this thing over my shoulder is referring to our first video, which is playing, which is Nathaniel Duarte. He was not at the Friday Inside News Candidates Forum run by Mike Jones, very nicely, but he was at the Black Bear Diner yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we start off as we've been doing all these weeks, and we'll just have 300 weeks to go, Mike, and
something like that, yes.
And so here is Nathaniel Duarte.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. I'm delighted to finally have the opportunity to come here. And actually, I was hoping to come last month, but had a church engagement, so wasn't able to make it this time around. I wanted to give you a little bit of information about myself. My name is Nathaniel Duarte. I am a young entrepreneur. I own a computer service and setup business called Technology Solutions. I do computer setup, computer service, doing things like setting up Facebook and Twitter and printers and different computer services, and for people here in the Rogue Valley. I thought about it as I was driving over here this evening, that it's kind of remarkable that I'm doing my first main standing up presentation at the Republican Party, because it was the Republican Party that got me involved in local politics back when I was 11, so the 2007, getting ready for the 2008 presidential election. It was during that time where I really got a keen interest in politics. And it was when I started to being able to really reading up on the things like the Constitution and different legal documents, and really started following along and started maintaining that love of politics. And over the years, hasn't been very long, but I began to see that national politics is not the solution. It's going to be local politics, state politics, where the change is going to happen and where people are going to be able to have effect. So getting to why I'm running for commissioner, as most of you probably are very well aware, I am the youngest commissioner candidate. I don't think that's a big surprise to anyone, but my youth is precisely part of the reason I'm running. I'm running because I'm concerned about the future of Josephine County. I've been in Josephine County for 7 years and have fallen in love with the area, with the people, and I want to see this county have a long-term future and have a prosperous future, and that motivates me to run for commissioner. So I wanted to briefly go through three items, issues that I'm concerned about as I think about this county, think about the future of this county. First one is prosperity, and the whole concept of bringing in business and having this area be a place where businesses can thrive and jobs can be created. Just recently, a young guy that I know decided to move to Texas because he needed more opportunity for work, and the career he was pursuing had better opportunity in Texas, so he pulled out of Grants Pass and moved to there. And when I speak of prosperity and economic development, I have a more unique perspective on it, probably not unique to the people here in this room, but my thoughts on economic development is that the way government gets involved in the economy is by staying out of it. You know, Ronald Reagan had a quote where he said, "The worst words you can ever hear is 'I'm from the government and I'm here to help.'" And that's very true in economic development. I think the way for county government, for state government to be involved in economic development is to be involved in creating the atmosphere, not the jobs themselves, in creating the atmosphere for prosperity. So that can mean cutting regulations, cutting permits. One of the first things, if elected commissioner, that I would be interested in doing was saying to the department like planning, saying, look, you need to streamline the process, the permitting process, so that there is clear steps on how to start a business and how to do different things. Obviously, with the end goal being limiting permits and regulations. Another thing that concerns me is safety. I think it's hard to deny that all of us are in one way or another concerned about public safety. and I'm looking to fund public safety without a levy. I will not support a levy, and I am looking to see the county provide a long-term solution to this. Another issue, and I'll wrap up with this issue, is the issue of freedom. And I think all of us here can agree that freedom is important. And a lot of that belief that freedom is valuable is what motivates me here. I want to read one quote from Ronald Reagan. You may be familiar with it, but it's worth thinking over and it's worth contemplating. He said this: "But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-thought lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free." I'm not married right now. I don't have children, but I hope to. And I don't want to be the father or the grandfather has to look my children or my grandchildren in the eye and tell them what America was like when men were free. And that really is important to me as I'm involved in the political process. So to wrap it all up, I'm running for commissioner because I believe the future of this county, the future of the people living in it, are worth fighting for. And I'm looking to bring fresh ideas, positive direction, and principled decisions to this county. Thank you.
It is our pleasure to bring you every candidate's statement. Mike?
Yeah. I have seen much worse candidates that were much older and much more experienced. I like the direction from which he comes. So that's good stuff.
But we're not making any comments about the videos.
Yeah, I'm not addressing anything specifically. That's all.
Right. So at today's weekly business session, there was very interesting circumstance. It's important to remember it's only going to be 30 seconds because that's all the time that I got, including walking up to the podium. I intended, and we've been saying on the show for a couple of days, to go and tell the people on the Ann-Basker, including the commissioners, that there's been some news on the SRS front, that there's 22 members of the House from both sides of the aisle that are fighting for this, that 1/4 of the country, we never knew this, gets SRS payments. And that the idea that there's nobody in Washington, D.C. working on this is just totally wrong. It's wrong. So before coming to this thing, Keith Heck wrote up a long speech, which he intended to say on top of me. And he did. And he wanted me stopped so that he could talk on top of what I was saying. Can't wait till his protected time. He's got to do it right now on top of me. Of course, I don't think I have to point out to you the guy's running against me. So it was ironic to me that I wore this tie to this meeting, which is supposed to be about the American ideals. Here is what happened to me, and I think you'll find this amusing. Here's what happened to me at today's weekly business session. Dale?
Dale Matthews, Grants Pass. Well, we've caught you again. You've been telling us all along that we're pretty much isolated, the few counties that are down here in Southern Oregon, for SRS payments. I'm over here if anybody wants to look at me on the commissioner side.
Just on the sake of the commissioner's side,
yeah,
Mr. Matthews.
Thank you very much.
Allow me to. Your clock is suspended.
Really? That's how much time I got. And then Keith Heck read his long statement on top of my time, and then Cheryl Walker cut off my mic.
Yeah, Keith was obviously searching for an opportunity to, because, I mean, it's not unusual for Dale to have something to say to them and for them to, talk back in the midst of what he's saying. And So I'm not surprised that this happened. But I mean, since we're talking about it, and you just let me know when we're done. I have the document to which you were going to refer, and we can cover that so that people can hear about it.
Let's do it again. We have talked on this show. We did give him a heads up that I was going to come and talk about this. I even said I'm going to go on Wednesday and talk about this, and just somehow magically Keith decided he needed to talk on top of that. And they cut my microphone. That's Keith Heck. That's Cheryl Walker. Go ahead, Mike. Tell us all about it.
What Dale was going to refer to is that there are 775 counties, and you're thinking, gosh, how many counties in the country are there? All told, counties and a few little things that they count as counties add up to 3,144, which is almost exactly 25% of, or actually 775 is actually almost 25% of 3,144. So anyway,
1/4 of the country.
Yeah, 1/4 of the country receives SRS payments in some way, and I mean, this is a little bit surprising to me because when we're in our own little world here, we think we're the only ones that are getting SRS, and SRS is really a supplemental to what we're supposed to be getting. I mean, the main thing that we're concerned about that we're not really getting much of now is the shared receipts on timber sales that we're supposed to be getting. But anyway, this guy, and I'm trying to think of it, is Paul
Gosar.
And he's a congressman, and along with 22 other congressmen submitted this document here to the House of Representatives. To the Committee on Appropriations, which is, I'm assuming, is the starting point for any piece of legislation that involves doling out government money to somebody's district. And so here is the request. It's like a page and a half. It really isn't that much. It just talks about how they would like to have it as a part of things going forward from 2016 and beyond. And it's signed here by all 22 members of Congress, including Peter DeFazio, who's one of ours. So, so the idea that, and they quite often say this, Cheryl will quite often say it, and Simon, repeats the mantra that SRS is over. There is no more. There won't be any more coming. End of story. Case closed. And that clearly is not true. The thing is that typically these blocks of funding on any given program, they fund it for 2 years, and then it's considered again, and they fund it for 1 year, and it's considered again, and then they, this is how things go. They don't go, okay, this is it for 200 years. We're just going to keep funding this program. So it isn't that much of a shock that that in the situation where Cheryl Walker is saying, well, no one in Washington is talking about it right now. Well, that doesn't mean anything. They're not talking about a lot of things that they will indeed be signing their name onto, legislation that appropriates government money to spend on this, that, or the other.
Mike, yeah. However, they are talking about it. These guys have not been telling us the truth.
Right. And there's 22 of these congressmen, and that's just the beginning. There may well, listen, 775 counties. I would imagine there's a lot of Congress people in that loop. And a lot of
the United States, 1/4 of the United States. They've been making us think that we're all on our own, that nobody pays attention to us and nobody cares. Yeah. That's a lot of bull.
Yeah. And listen, it's 775 counties. Obviously, a lot of Congress people are in the loop in those counties and are going to want to bring home that money because, listen, there's very little that you can actually do as a congressman or senator. And these are the little trophies that they put on their mantle that they, I mean, this is the dream kind of stuff that Cheryl Walker's been trying to put on her mantle for the last 4 years and has failed miserably at. But the bottom line is that SRS is by no means, it's no more over than it was 5 years ago. This is something that is said to have the fear ramp up a little bit more, so
you can see. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, now if we can get some Congress people working on, reestablishing some O&C timber receipts, there's some votes here. If you want that, if one of you guys are watching and you want some extra votes, get us some O&C money. We'll be real happy.
Even the state, if the state would come in on behalf of all of Southern Oregon, wouldn't that be sweet? You can see why it was absolutely essential that these two commissioners, Simon Hare wasn't there today and nobody knew why, even Keith didn't know why he wasn't there, why it's absolutely essential that they have to stop me from telling people about this. I mean, we put it on our show and we weren't the ones to come up with the original information, but we are the ones to tell everybody. And I wanted to tell people at this meeting, and they knew it was coming. Keith came prepared. He had a statement he was going to read on top of me. I mean, he doesn't do that, but he had this whole, this is why that's terribly rude and terrible, you shouldn't be elected or whatever his point was. Okay, well, I hope that's working for him because actually I don't hope it's working for him, but if that's the way he wants to, roll, that's not what we do. So thank you very much, Mr. Keith Heck and Cheryl Walker. Lovely. So I intend to go back next week and try again to see if they'll let me speak without cutting off my microphone. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So let's move over to the Grants Pass City Council, which is what this is all about. You all remember what kind of response, and boy, this has been in the newspaper, believe it or not. And a lot of people have been talking about it. I thought that we said that we didn't like this idea of go without underwear. No, go rogue, whatever that motto was. I thought we said we didn't like that. Well, we did. And overwhelming numbers. We said, no, we hate this idea, like we did with almost everybody did, 78%, with the Grants Pass City sales tax. Now what's happening? And Mike, argue with me, tell me why I'm wrong. What's going on in the Grants Pass City Council, followed by the county commissioners, is they've all had it up to here with voting. They don't want any more votes. They don't welcome your input. They're going to do it no matter what you say, and that's it. Mike?
Yeah. You want me to argue with you about that? That's
that's what's at stake here.
If we're just going with observations, then I have to say, yeah, I've observed exactly that as well.
All right. Laura Glover is the director of parks for the City Council and Community Development Department. And here's what she had to say about, no, I got that wrong. This is not Laura Glover. That's next time. This time is John Bowen, the famous John Bowen, who is happy to be back in front of the city councilors, telling them about the progress to doing something that almost everybody has said they hate, because they're not going to listen to us anymore. John Bowen.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the City Council Workshop for March 21st, 2016. And today it looks like we're missing some councilors and a mayor. So we'll fill in for the mayor and we'll rummage through. Our first item on today's agenda is John Bowen will give a presentation on the branding and how we're coming along with that. John?
Thank you, Councilor DeYoung. Thank you, Council. We're excited today. We're coming back to you. We're bringing back the final proposal for the branding strategy. And we've done a lot of work on this and we've sort of come full circle. And as in front of you, you have there's a 40-page document with the whole brand strategy. And again, I want to remind everybody that this project isn't just a logo.
What?
It's a comprehensive, full strategy that kind of is a positioning statement to where we want to go and head and position ourselves. And we've gone through a long process, and in phase one, we came out of the process and we came up with our branding strategy, and it was released a little unfairly, if you will, and didn't get a fair shake. We took a pause. And at the same time, the city did initiated the economic development strategic plan with the county, and that was a good opportunity to make sure that our branding was on track with that. And so with that caused the pause, and with that we waited for that project to get up to speed, and we synchronized with them and made clear that everything that in our branding and the direction we want to hold and go to is in line with them. And
now, wait a minute. That's not why there was a pause. There was a pause in this, John Bowen, because everybody hated your idea, because you stole one of the slogans that you used from somebody else that was using it, because your logos are derivative, because they stink. Mike, tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, he stole it from the man from Atlantis, and
That's right.
and who else? Who was it that Patrick Duffy played on Dallas?
I don't know.
Everybody else was.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an organization that he's a part of, and it's amazing that wasn't found by them, and it had to have snuck into their brains subliminally or something like that.
I know why it got to their brains.
This is like right down the road here.
Because I called the organization and I said, "Do you know this?" And they said, "I called them." They said, "No, we didn't know that." And so they actually said at a previous meeting, "Well, we just found out about it like 2 weeks later, right? And so we're going to adjust that." Mm-hmm. You just found out that you've been discovered that it was stolen.
Yeah.
No, they didn't know that before, Mike. Yeah, they had no idea that it was stolen. Sure, they didn't.
Well,
they paid a lot of money.
Listen, it's entirely possible that they didn't. For crying out loud, you'd be a fool to steal something from the next county. You're gonna get busted at some point. That they should have sent you a check for informing them. Is what they should have done.
Well, I think it's very much like one of the candidates that we have that goes ahead and breaks the rules and then says, "Well, I'm not going to stop until they make me stop." And that could be that too. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay.
Or research, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Somebody else's work.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, that was derivative.
Yeah. This whole idea is moronic anyway. So, one
thing we can say about the current logo is there's nobody that would like to copy this one. That's a positive.
Yeah, and well, you know what's so weird to me? Why would you throw crap loads of money on this when you have stated on a number of occasions that you want to fund things like the Juvenile Justice Center, which would primarily be a City of Grants Pass thing, although it would be run as a county function thing. That they've been wanting to fund that or refund that for years. They're trying everything, and yet they're throwing tens of thousands of dollars at this when they could, if they wanted this Juvenile Justice Center thing that bad, they could just say, okay, well, we're going to fund that since the county won't, or something,
Well,
you have a guess?
Yeah, I have a guess about why they would do this. It falls into exactly the same category as this water testing project. Their primary push, besides the levy, everybody in county government and city government wants a levy. The primary push besides that is handing out money to their friends.
Yeah. And speaking of which, the Courier came out with something. Either it was today's or yesterday's edition. My wife handed it to me, and it had a front page story how they're paying that bill, and that the water now has a clean bill of health, and complete waste of money.
$77,000 for 1 month work. Yep.
How nice.
We knew right from the very beginning that this. Well, anyway, here's more of John Bowen,
which we did in January with their situational assessment and initial findings of everything. And so with that, our branding steering committee regrouped, went to work, and actually has been since the beginning of January. And we've come back and have before you this branding strategy. And we're excited about it. And we understand there might be a little bit of tiny pushback, but it's a new day and it's an exciting day. And we're here to initiate that and bring it forward. With this branding strategy, we're embracing our future and we're setting a tone we're proud of who we are and where we are. And we're setting aspirational goals to be even better. And to do that.
People in the city aren't proud.
No, they're not proud of it. And the goal that they're setting is to ignore the feedback they were getting from the people because the people are stupid and not worth listening to. Who's one of them? Go ahead.
Yeah, you just have to wonder what favors somebody owes this guy because why would they do this? After all that, I mean, they already have the negative dark cloud of the sales tax hanging over their head, and now they want to lump this on top of it.
I think it's a perfect follow-up because they're really angry with the voters for not doing as they're told, and so they're the Cheryl Walker, Keith Eck, Simon Hare, this mayor, this city council. They are so angry with the voters for not doing as they're told. They're going to make sure that they get their way no matter what anybody says. They don't care what you say. This whole thing is a battle for who's going to be on top. Are they going to be on top, or are the citizens and their opinions going to be on top?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, I agree.
Nothing less than the American way, as I told that Courier reporter in the hallway. I said, but this is the way the people voted. He just laughed. They think they're idiots too. You're going to need to make up your mind what you think about this. Okay. You watch this show, so you certainly do have an opinion about some of this, and some of the other side watches this show. Really, that's what you want. You just want to and those signs that are from John Bowen are already out there. Well, no, wait a minute. How the heck can they be out there? Because they're going to do it no matter what we say.
Yeah, you know what? If you're talking about the two entry signs, there's one over there on E Street, and then there's one at the top of town. But from what I heard, that was that's not city money. That money and those signs were donated, and so.
Because they're going to
listen. If they want to do that, it's fine. Fine.
They're going to have their way no matter what. If somebody says I don't like it, I don't like it. If everybody says I don't like it, they're going to do it anyway. They'll do it with private money. So we're going to force this on you.
Yeah.
Somebody has to approve those signs going up.
It's not private money now, is it?
No, but somebody has to approve those signs going up. You can't just put up a sign. You have to have approval of the city council and their planning department. Oh, yeah, sure. We love it. There you go. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter. So what can we do about this? Okay, this is a little early in the show to say what can we do about this. You certainly are not going to be able to affect the staff at the city council. That's not going to work. You're not going to affect the staff at the county. But what you can do is, if you get the right people in this next election, because this one's coming, the primary is in May. If you get the right people in there, there's going to be 4 of them. Nobody's going to get 51%. Let's be realistic. Okay, if you get those people right, and if they start turning it all around toward the people and put the people in charge, these guys are going to be under a lot of pressure to follow suit, because that's what's been happening. Both sides have said we've had it. We're not going to pay attention to any votes ever again. That's why they're going to the governor, because they don't have to pay any attention to us. That's why they're lying to us, because we won't.
Which is making great milestones in the quest for trust.
Well, I think they've given up on that, Mike. They've given up on it. They realize that their trustworthiness is zero, and so they just said, "Okay, then we're just not going to listen to you anymore."
Nice.
And we're willing to stand out and say, we are Grants Pass. So before you is the brand strategy. It is Live Rogue. We're proud of that strategy. And,
sure you are.
And again, the strategy encompasses far more than just the logo and the tagline. And with that, I want to go over the highlights of that. Oops, sorry, got too many papers here. So on the strategy, it'd be hard to see, but Grants Pass. So this is our strategy statement. Grants Pass' greatest tourism asset is the Rogue River. The river runs right through town, and Grants Pass is perfectly situated just upriver from the most epic and enjoyable stretch, and is the overwhelming reason why people come to vacation here.
No. That is not the truth. What do we know about that, Mike?
I don't know, Dale. What am I supposed to be thinking about that right now?
They did a survey for 3 months. Gerald Walker said, "Oh no, it's just 1 month and it's just a few people." No, they did a big survey, hundreds of entries in that survey. They did it for 3 months, and the number one reason people come here is because they're saying, they have a river,
Oh, yes, of course, that's right. I remember this was like the people that stay in hotels and stuff. They surveyed them, and this was they're coming here to either visit family or friends. Essentially, that's it.
So now this guy is in charge. He's being paid big bucks. This guy is in charge of leading the city council, along with the staff, leading the city council down the path toward economic prosperity and telling them the truth, and he just said to them something which is totally false. It fits in with his plan, it'll get him paid, but that's not the case. So once again, you can't start with the truth if you want to get your way. When you combine things that are, well, let's not call them lies, complete falsehoods, together with not caring what the people think, this is the county commissioners. All right, so John Bowen, tell us more of these.
Yet there are many potential visitors who don't equate Grants Pass with the Rogue, especially the metropolitan areas like Portland, San Jose, and San Francisco. Full of recent transplants unfamiliar with the Northwest, they know Grants Pass as a stop on I-5. We need to make sure that travelers know that if they want to experience the Rogue River and all the recreation it affords, Grants Pass is where they should come. So we need to own the river, featuring it predominantly in our tagline, logo, and much more of our communication. But it's not enough just to say, it's not enough just to let folks know. We also have to compel people to visit. So let's also invoke the feeling of life on the Rogue River. Let's paint a visceral picture of what having access to limitless adventure during your visit is like.
That's, boy, I tell you what, Mike, that's a wonderful idea. I want access to limitless adventure. And there's nothing that says that more than don't wear your underwear.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, again, this is one of those things where I think this is a waste of money. But that would be fine if we were swimming in liquid cash, but we're not. And we're constantly being reminded. I mean, the city people sat in on the Lipsick meeting here the other day, where they were declaring a fiscal state of emergency, and during a fiscal state of emergency, we're bringing back logos and slogans that nobody likes. generally speaking. I mean, I remember on Facebook, they put it out all over the place. Do you like this? Everybody hated it. It was universally hated, with a few exceptions. Always somebody going to like something like that. But generally speaking, people hated it. And for them to go back to that and spend tens of thousands of dollars, because listen, if you're going to communicate, if you're going to have it an integral part of all your communications and all this kind of stuff, you're going to have to put it in brochures. It's going to have to be, everywhere in government documents. And that
you have to replace all kinds of letterheads. You got to replace signs. All these various things, just the press releases, they all need to be redone. All of that stuff that's on there is worthless now.
Right. So, and all of this is being done in this, state of fiscal emergency. Now, additionally, the city has money that they're supposed to be saving for the replacement of the water plant. So on top of this dire fiscal emergency that we're having countywide, of which the city is a huge contributor in terms of the level of crime that takes place in the city, and therefore the money that they should be spending to facilitate the harboring of these criminals in jail and them going through the legal system. A lot of this is money that they should be spending. I don't know why somebody out in Cave Junction should be spending money on the legal system to take care of criminals apprehended inside Grants Pass by Grants Pass police. So, I mean, this whole thing just seems a little bit weird to me. And then you stack on top of it this water thing, and there's probably a number of other things that we don't even know about that are in the pipeline. And to be doing this, it just seems odd to me. But listen, as I said before, I don't necessarily have a problem with this kind of stupid crap. I don't, I mean, listen, there's cities all over the country that have a little slogans and brochures with their special logos and all kinds of stuff. They all have that. And, it's totally fine for them to do it if there's money to do it. And if your citizens don't hate it.
Right.
But if they do,
nobody's going to
see what's going on.
Nobody's going to stop in Grants Pass unless we have this new logo. We're apparently not on board this, and nobody's going to stop in Grants Pass unless they have a logo that all of the people of Grants Pass hate.
Listen, and so I cannot help but wonder who owes favors to John Bowen. What did John Bowen do that now this is quid pro quo for? Because
I have a strong opinion about this. I really think that what it comes down to is that Grants Pass City Council is and especially the staff, is very upset with the voters. They knew they could depend on the voters to back up anything that they proposed. And when the voters said no, this is payback. This is the poison pill. Just like what Keith and Cheryl are doing. This is the poison people. Well, I'm going to show them. We're going to do it anyway, and we're going to call the governor down here, and we're never, ever going to have a vote again. You've said what you think, and you heard Dan DeYoung say, well, people don't want law enforcement. And you heard the mayor said, well, none of their arguments make any sense. And you heard Roy Lindsay, who's on this committee, this rebranding committee, say that, well, you try to talk common sense to these people and they don't listen. Who's not listening?
Yeah.
More John Bowen.
Let's capture the serenity and beauty of the nearby wilderness, mostly untouched by human hand. And let's entice visitors with a welcoming voice that conveys the friendliness of the people who proudly call Grants Pass home. To that last point, while the river is all it offers is a big part of our story, it's not the entire story. There's ample opportunity for adventure on the river, but there is so much to do along its banks and its mountains above it. So we should, I'm sorry. So we should add biking and hiking to the list of activities which promote alongside fishing, rafting, and jet boating. As well, the nearby valleys full of wonderful vineyards and making amazing wine in the in the nearby valleys, and even Crater Lake and the Oregon Caves, both close enough and that they come to become part of the Rogue River vacation. Ultimately, we want to capture both the spirit of the river and what time is spent in Grants Pass is like, in order to invite brand new visitors as well as folks who haven't come for a long time to share in and vacation in this wonderful place, Grants Pass.
Some of that would
somebody.
Go ahead.
Somebody owes that guy favors. I'm telling you.
And why did they come here again? They come here because they got relatives here. Mm-hmm. That's the number one reason they come. They got friends or relatives. So we're going to snatch them off of off of I-5, and we're going to have them come here because we've got a logo that shows that we've got mountains, Mike, and wine, and we've got what in the world? What a lot! This is a load.
You know,
this is.
Again, as I said, I really don't have any objection to this kind of stupidity. I think it's stupid, but people can have their own opinions. I just think that if you're trying to sell fiscal emergency, how can you then throw tens of thousands of dollars at this? And then, of course, that we already have a very well documented public opinion about this very thing. So. I think
tens of thousands of dollars be thrown at a juvenile shelter? Couldn't it?
Well, yes, it could, or any number of other things that one would think would take a higher priority than this here. Somebody's painting a legacy somewhere.
So our target audience is, the millennials, the Gen Xers, and people like you and me.
What?
And it's a broad range, but what they all are craving is this natural beauty, this a place for adventure, good food, good wine, and a really warm atmosphere of hospitality. And that's exactly what we encompass here in Grants Pass. And we live it. We live what the spirit of the Rogue River. We live Rogue.
Oh, brother.
Of course, for brevity, I'm abbreviating a lot of this.
Yeah, really?
And in our manifesto,
I'm
going to hit the highlight points rather than read the whole thing. First,
yes.
Our manifesto?
Yes.
He really said
going to hit. Well, okay, but it's normally associated with something nefarious. But
Portland, maybe, or maybe East Berlin, or maybe China, the communist China. Our manifesto, whatever. It doesn't matter what they say now. Our manifesto.
Foremost, there is the Rogue River, which runs through the town and it transforms just a few miles downriver into the wild and scenic Rogue River.
Yeah, wild and scenic.
Captured the imagination of generations upon generations of vacationers. Some rivers are merely admired, but the Rogue River is a river that begs to be rafted, boated, and fished, offering adventure aptly for thrill seekers of all walks of life. There is, of course, more to Grants Pass. There is a historic downtown where the people who live here have kept the best of what was, like the soda fountain and historic signs, but also new shops and art galleries and wonderful restaurants serving great food of locally crafted beer. You'll find residents of Grants Pass warm and welcoming, happy to give advice or even take you out on the river and show you where the salmon are swimming.
Oh, I'd like to take these city councilors out on the river, Mike, and show them the river really close.
All I can keep saying is this is really stupid to me, but whatever,
What a waste. What a waste. Especially bad that we've said we hate this. We hate it, and they don't care.
I think that things like this should make you wonder what else they're wasting your money on. That's all.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, and where is this headed? Because the really dark surrounding of all this is that they're cutting the people out of the process because the people aren't doing what they're being told. And so they're going to leave us out of the process. And how can these people sit here, these city councilors sit there? Why don't they say, hey, wait a minute. I mean, I would never make a good city councilor because I'd always be saying, what are you telling us? Haven't the people already told us they hate this idea? You're going to skip over their vote and you don't care? Really?
You know, if you're going to sell stuff to people, I expect a certain level of charisma and entertainment as a part of the presentation. And I'm a little bit shocked that this guy is just sort of not at all good at any of that. And you know,
sorry, Mike.
So as to ensure you don't lose any.
Sorry, but I didn't mean to do that to you.
No, and so here's more of that. You know?
More. Get out your hip waders.
Or anything on the water. A visit to Grants Pass is many things, but above it, it's a chance to live differently. A way of life that even if only lived for a few days, you can't help but return home with you because it is fundamentally changes who you are.
What? I haven't heard this. It fundamentally changes who you are. What?
It's just stupid sales hyperbole.
My gosh.
Listen, as I said, you know, this is just goofy stuff that they're doing. And again, I think it's dumb. I've never been one. I don't like, you know, like when the waiter comes to the table and it starts telling you about the wine or something, and it's like, oh, come on. You know, it's got, you know, they start describing the flavors and it has a little bit of cherry and a little bit of this and that and whatever. That stuff is all completely BS as far as I'm concerned.
But Mike,
but to some people it means something. So
this wine will fundamentally change who you are.
Yeah. Listen, what else are you going to do? No, this is the kind of hyper. I would totally expect to hear that somebody's trying to sell me some place to go. They're going to tell me stuff like that, you know. And if I'm dumb enough to buy into it, then hey.
But do you remember when we were kids? There were advertisements on TV for toys. I'm sure there still are. And there was the lonely kid. And then he got the superpower something or other. And as soon as he opened the box, I remember this ad in particular, because I was like 12. And I went, this is a lot of BS at 12. And suddenly the doors burst open, and from all directions, kids were coming in through the windows to be his friend because he got this superpower raisin thing. And no. Even as a kid, I'm going, that's a lie. You know, and my parents were like, good for you. You knew that this was totally false. And that's what this guy, what are we, children? This guy is telling us that this logo, this stupid looking logo, is going to fundamentally change who we are. If you come to Grants Pass, you'll fundamentally change.
Yeah, I mean, he isn't saying the logo. He's saying, but listen, it doesn't make any difference what he's saying. It isn't true. Everybody knows it. This is just the thing that you say when you're trying to hype something up. And, you know, hey, listen, nice try. And maybe that's going to work. Like I said, I'm totally fine. They want to blow their extra money that they have on stuff like that.
That's my money.
Yes, but it just doesn't jive with the rest of the narrative. That's all.
Well, okay, fundamentally change who you are. I mentioned this on the show about a year ago. When Pepsi first went into parts of Africa, this was a while back, their slogan was, catch that Pepsi spirit, come alive, catch that Pepsi spirit. And they translated this into Swahili. and the trucks would race into town, and people would run for the hills. They couldn't get away fast enough because the translation in Swahili meant, if you drink this stuff, the spirits of your dead ancestors will come alive. It will fundamentally change who you are.
Yes, that's
And this logo, look at this stupid logo. Remember what it used to look like? The swoosh was horizontal, and now it's at a racy angle. Why? Many more people are going to drink this. Oh, please.
Yeah, whatever.
Well,
Again, I think that's stupid or whatever, but this is what companies do. They rebrand themselves. They try to, look hip. They don't want to be too dated because somebody might go, well, Pepsi, that's old.
It's so hip, really, when you think about the angle.
Mm-hmm.
Why, if you do this, then people will come here. They'll come here and they'll drink this stuff, and it will change everything about them. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want your relatives, because that's the only reason they're coming here, to be completely different, well, who doesn't? But if you don't want them to be, then don't invite them to come and visit you, because they're going to fundamentally change into something else.
And if you don't want your dead relatives showing up, do not drink Pepsi while you're here.
Oh, man. This guy's saying enough to bring dead relatives alive. Come up and wipe out everybody in the room. Here we go.
And how you see the world for the better.
Oh.
So come, live rogue. Grants Pass.
Good gosh.
And as you go through this document and the strategy, it's
gets worse and
it's
worse.
Outlining how we're going to do that. And there is our tone of voice that would be encompassed in the ads that you'll see the samples of. And this.
Okay, there it is. That's what's going to tell people that their lives are going to fundamentally change.
Yeah, and I don't even care. I don't even care. You know what? At this point, I don't care. They're going to do it anyway. I really don't care.
What a stupid waste.
Yeah, if they want, yeah, that's it.
It's more than that, bud. It's more than that. Again, the fundamental change that they've gone through is they don't care what we think anymore. They just don't care. So they're going to do it, and they're going to come up with stupid ideas and force them on us, even though they know we don't want it. And that's the danger. That's the real danger. Saying stupid things, we expect that. But the motivation behind it and the end result is going to be our votes, our editor letters to the editor, our feedback to them at meetings. None of this means anything to this bunch of characters because they're not going to tolerate it.
Well, and you know what? Listen, I kind of understand how they arrived at this place because, any given one of these meetings, unless there's something like marijuana or something like that, you can't get 10 people to come to this, to these meetings. Every once in a while you'll pack it in like the thing for the sales tax. There's a bunch of people there for that because it was a bad idea. So the point is that you can stop any of this stuff that you actually really want to stop. And listen, we have enough time in our lives to play around on our cell phones and cruise around on Facebook and stream movies off of Netflix and stuff like that. But we don't have time for a city council meeting or a weekly business session. And so you wonder why they try and roll over the top of you with stupid stuff like this. Well, there's your answer. It's because you don't care. That's why. And as long as you don't care, then they continue to get their way and they become very, very brazen about it. But you'll notice, though, if you ever care enough to, step up and oppose some of this stuff, that it doesn't really take that many people. You come in there and you say, hey, this is a bad idea. You get 10 people up there forcefully saying, this is a bad idea. Stop it. Knock it off. They'll stop.
Well,
I think trying to put it on the ballot or something.
I think that you're right, except this time, all of those people, all that feedback means nothing to these guys. That's what I'm afraid of. That no matter how many people wrote letters to the editor, came to these meetings, because they did, and gave them feedback and sent them emails and called them and told them they hated it, they're going to do it anyway. One more thing before we got to go. One more thing is this is what you're going to see all over town.
Talking about that initially. And again, this is initial, more vetting has.
Okay, so these are the signs that you're going to see stuck all over town, these orange and black OSU signs that are going to be all over town telling you how to find 6th and G.
Right.
They're going to be stuck all over the place.
Yeah, and I see from the scaling on that one on the right, it looks like a pretty darn big sign.
These are big signs. These are going to be expensive signs. One good thing is nobody's going to want to steal these signs, right? Because they're ugly. Also, they don't match the current rules where you're not supposed to have two of the colors you're not supposed to have are black and orange. That's against the rules in the historic district, but okay, whatever. That's ridiculous. And the other thing that they're doing is, as we mentioned on this show before, is they've come up with this. Again, this is cracked logic. If you're in another town and you're at 5th and H and you want to find 6th and G, one would think that you would go from 5th and H to 6th and G, and maybe you could go a block out of your way and go, oh no, we're going the wrong direction, so one block out of your way, go back. No, that's not going to be enough. Now you got to put up signs all over the place saying this way to that, to 6th and G, except that's not what it's going to say. It's going to say this way to the Timberline parking lot. No, this way to the Babe and the Blue Ox parking lot. What? There'll be these big orange signs telling you don't need that. We got signs that, and all you need to do is, if you can remember that you're at Babe and the Blue Ox or whatever goofy thing it's going to be called, because they're going to be called goofy names, you know that. One of them is probably going to be called Grasshopper parking lot. Do you remember that stupid? Oh, I love that. I don't. Okay, the big grass. They're going to call it the Grasshopper parking lot.
See, you know, I mean, there's an odd dynamic that's happening on this show. The more Dale's telling me about, the less I care. I don't care. And now, you know, Dale's almost apoplectic, and I'm almost
bad logic. No, it's only because it's bad logic. 6th and G is a block away from 5th and H. What, is everybody stupid? Now they've got to remember. Oh, like at Disneyland, I'm parked at the Goofy parking lot. No, I'm parked at 6th and G. Listen, or whatever the parking lot. What?
I think it's hard enough to find your way to an empty parking space in the downtown anyway. Yeah, I mean the parking has been bad. You double the amount of people come down here, boy, you got problems.
Well, I'm parked at
that's what they need to deal with.
The Ill Eagle parking lot. Oh. That's not what it says. Right? It's like that line from Young Frankenstein. Yeah. Ill Eagle parking lot. Yeah, that's what it says. Abby Normal. Right.
Abby Normal.
Okay. Yeah. All right, sir. Well, that's our goofy show for this evening. It's joined a long line of goofy shows and goofy logic and just things that just, what in the world are they thinking? Really, we got to say goodbye to these guys. This is just, it's not only is it a waste and the money could be spent much better, but also it's really bad logic and it's going to change all of us and who we fundamentally are. It's already starting to change me.
Yeah. Right.